In this video, I want to have a look at simple interest. So simple interest is when interest is calculated on the initial amount of money that you invested in a bank account, or it might be the initial amount of money that you took out in a loan. But it's always based on that initial amount, and that amount is called the principal. So we actually have a formula for calculating simple interest, and that formula is I equals P, R, N. So that P, R, and N, those values are multiplied together. So what do they all stand for? The I stands for interest. The P is that principal. It's the initial amount of money that was invested. The R is the rate. So that's the percentage interest rate. And the N is the number of time periods. So that might be the number of years or months or days that that investment is earning interest for. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. Our first one asks us to calculate the simple interest on $12,000 invested at 8% per annum for 2 years. So the first thing we're going to do is write down our formula. We're going to have I equals PRN. Now we're trying to calculate the interest. Our principal is that $12,000 that's invested at the start. Our rate is that 8%. And our N, our number of time periods, is 2 years. Now when we write this rate in there, we don't want to write it as 8%, we want to write it as a decimal. So that's going to be 0.08. So now we have our three values. We're going to substitute those into our formula. So we're going to have 12,000 times 0.08 times 2. And if we pop that in the calculator, we'll end up with 1,920. So that means if they've invested $12,000 in the bank at this rate for 2 years, not only do they still have their $12,000, but they also have an extra $1,920. All right, let's have a look at our second example. So it says, how much money will Andrew have if he invests $4,000 at 3.25% per annum for 3 years? So again, we'll start by writing our formula down. Our principal is that $4,000 that he invests. Our rate is the 3.25%. And remember, we want to write that as a decimal. So that's going to be 0.0325. And our number of time periods is going to be 3. So we'll fill those in. So we'll have $4,000 times 0.0325 times the 3 years. So putting all that in our calculator, and we'll end up with 390. So he's earned $390 interest. But the question hasn't asked us just to calculate the interest. The question has said, how much money will Andrew have if he invests this much money? So not only does he still have his $4,000, but he now also has another $390. So the total amount, so we'll use A for amount, the total amount he has at the end is that $4,000 plus the interest that he earned. So that's going to be $4,390 all up. So just being careful whether the question is just asking you for the interest or whether it's asking you for the total amount in that account. All right, so it's a few examples of simple interest.